how has this improved how you deliver care to an individual? Because now you have more data points than the once a week session. You have pretty much all day, every day of that person's lives, and you have much more data to kind of craft different therapy plans.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I would say, we're not doctors. We're master's and bachelor level staff, just with many years of experience in providing community mental health. And for those of us in partial care, we've had the advantage of being with people up to 30 hours a week. So the design of partial care, by its nature, allows us to really immerse people in this experience of recovery. So really for us, the adjustment has been, now suddenly we're not with them, sometimes 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. So now we have to connect and communicate with them in a very different way. And because we already had that way of established of our messaging coming to them through the GOMO Everyday Matters messaging, it kind of was a placeholder. We jumped in with calling people individually every day, our staff, hours on the phone, person by person by person. Whereas we could touch 50 people a day, we could have, 8, 12, and with 2 staff, sometimes up to 20 people in a group and do the lesson all together. And now suddenly we're individual by individual. That's why we now are doing groups by Zoom. So almost like school with classrooms. So imagine when schools closed, if teachers had to talk to each student individually every day, they didn't have a virtual classroom. That's what we went to. We lost our classrooms, essentially. But now we've got those back. But what helped us was we could refer, we could reflect. We knew that messaging was still consistently coming and people had 24-hour access. But because we were a partial care program and we were immersed in so much data, the challenge for us has been, okay, now we're just talking to somebody by phone. We're not necessarily seeing them. Is this connecting in their recovery plan? Are they still working on their recovery plan if they're not in the program doing it? So it really made it move from program and milieu to environment of need. So we are getting feedback like, well, you were right. A lot of people would say, well, it's easy to use these skills in program. It's really hard when I'm having an argument with a family member or when I'm alone at 2 a.m. and these worry thoughts start going through my head and then I start to feel symptoms. Yeah, it's much easier to do it in group, or when you're just down the hall, I can come talk to you. So now people are saying, the things that you're teaching in group really are making sense. And the message last night reminded me that I can do this. So that's where it starts to work. So it's a little bit the opposite of what you would think. We actually had so much more contact with people. And now we are relying on the technology to keep that reinforcement going, that belief in what we're saying will work. And now we're back to the Zoom classrooms, if you will, to keep the groups going.
Is there any one psych condition that has taken to the system better, and is there any one psych condition that has taken to the system it's been a little more challenging?
I think for us, it's not so much better or worse, it's more of the curve of using it and applying it. And I would say that people with mood disorders were first to embrace it.
Okay.
Because it speaks so directly to mood disorders, and offers, it's just, there's less cognitive impact at times. I mean, unless you have a really serious depression, and then all of your functioning is so suppressed by the illness during that time. But I think the early adapters and the people who were embracing it first were people with mood disorders. And then we saw, no, it was kind of equal opportunity, even with thought disorders. One of the first things we had to do is be really clear and specific. When we first had the messaging going out, we would attach staff names to it. You know, remember that Bonnie says, or remember that Diane. And people were misunderstanding. They thought we were actually staying up all night and instant messaging them, texting them back. Yeah. Because they didn't understand the technology, and we didn't have a good enough handle yet to explain. So we removed our names from it because we really wanted people to not worry that, no, you're not waking us up and you're not, you know, it's not really texting. We're storing these messages. And so them being part of developing and vetting the messages really helps them understand that they're stored somewhere, they're sent out one at a time for their use and their reference. And that helped a lot. And I would say that, you know, so there had to be a level of comfort with the technology, comfort understanding it. The other early adopters are people with smartphones who are used to texting and used to communicating. There are a lot of people who still just have a landline or just have a flip phone, and they want to hear a voice coming out, and they aren't big text people. So it's been more gradual for them, but people do get it. They know, they open and they click on their message, and there's a message just for them in the morning for them to get them going. So it's taken a little time, but I would say broadly it's equal opportunity for people. And just as any of us in our lives, depending on what's going on in our life at a particular time, we'll find things of varying value. So, you know, so it resonates for people at different moments in their lives.
Now, when you get a new patient, can you start them on this program right away, or do you need to learn a little about this patient individually for a period of time?
Nope, we start immediately.
Okay.
We talk about it at intake, and then we go through, in partial care, we go through, we call it engagement and orientation as people learn what the program is, and we offer that right away for people to sign up so they can begin to experience it. We do, as people graduate from the program and move on, we stop the messaging, and we've had a lot of people say, I really miss that, you know, because they've graduated and they're gone. So a lot of times they will connect and have connections with other members and say, oh, what was the message today? You know, so it serves that value. Well, for any of us, staff get the messaging.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how many times, especially after a really long, rough day, you know, I come home and it was like, Diane, it was a great day for you. It felt hard, but you did it. For me, just for me. I know that message was in there. I saw it a bunch of times, and it still felt so great to get it. It was just that little boost. So,
have patients taken to it more or less since everything locked down and everyone is pretty much home 24 hours a day?
We haven't analyzed per se, but what I can tell you is that if the messaging, sometimes people inadvertently will text stop or turn it off, or every once in a while there's a glitch, and they might go a few days before remembering to tell us in program. We're finding that now that people don't have the program, it's all virtual with groups, we hear right away. Anybody's having any issue with the messaging, we hear it immediately. So to me, I would interpret that as, oh, there's a strong connection and a strong feeling about it now. Whereas knowing, oh, I didn't get my morning message, but I'm going into program, you know, not as big a deal. And then when they would finally remember, we would help them get re-enrolled. The members helped each other enroll in the program. We have an orientation group of members who are kind of peer supporters for people that come in, and we're looking for ways for them to continue that work with others. to help them stay connected and feel comfortable when they start program. And of course, the challenge is now that people are starting a program where they can't be on site. So they're meeting everyone else virtually by voice or sometimes by Zoom, just seeing them on a camera. So it's a little bit different, but the members coach each other, and people are telling us if they get disconnected in any way, then we can fix it. We can get them re-enrolled.